Okay, now we're moving on to stem changers. Everyone's favorite. We have grown to hate them so much, and they're back again in the preterite, like always. They're never going to go away. But in this case, we only have to do half the work, just like we did with the present progressive. So, only the IR verb stem change. Woohoo! We can celebrate, do a little happy dance, because that means AR verbs and ER verbs, we don't have to worry about them. So if we come across a stem change, we look at the ending of the verb first, and if it's not an IR, we just conjugate it normally. We don't do anything different to it. Okay, but when it's an IR, this is when we have a little change. And just like the present progressive as well, there's only two categories. The O is going to go to a U, and then the E is going to turn into I. So there's no U to UE category, there's no E to IE. We just have these two little ones. So it's only half the work, if you think about it. And then our next rule is they only stem change in the sandal. Okay, last time they stem changed in the boot. So we had the yo form, the to form, the L form, and the AOS form. So we had nice winter boots on, kept us warm. But in this case, we're at the beach and we want to wear our sandals, so it's only going to be the L form and the AOS form, so we don't need tall boots, just sandals. So let's do our first verb together. So the first verb we're going to do is dormir. So we need to check some stuff first. Okay, is it a stem changing verb? Yes, because we got the UE out there, it lets us know that it's a stem changer. Okay, is it an IR verb? Yep, so we're going to have to change it. So the first thing we're going to do, like always, is take off our IR, and we're left with dorm. Okay, well, we're only going to stem change in the sandal. So only the L form and the AOS form change. And the O is not going to go to a UE, it's just going to go to a U. We put this out there just to let you know that present tense, that's what it changes to, but you should know in the past tense, even though it says UE, you only go to a U. Okay, so we have dorm, dorm, and here in our sandal we have dorm, and dorm, dorm, and dorm. Okay, so that's the only stem changing part. And now it's an IR verb, and we go and add our regular endings. So we have dormi, dormiste, dormió, dormimos, dormisteis, and then dormieron. So these are the only two letters that changed in the whole thing. Everything else is normal. Okay, now we're going to another verb, preferir. It means to prefer. So let's check it first. Is it a stem changer? Yep, unfortunately. Is it an IR verb? Yep, that means we're going to have to change it, and we only change it in the sandal. So step one, take off the IR, and we're left with prefer. Okay, whenever we have two E's, okay, because we took off our stem, and then I took off our ending, and our stem has two of the same vowel, we're always going to do the E closest to the ending, so closest to the thing that you took off. Okay, so whenever we stem change, we have prefer, prefer, and when we get to the sandal, it's going to be prefir. So the I changes right here. Then prefer, prefer, and then prefir. Muy bien. So only in the sandal, and the E goes to an I. Now that was the hard part. Now all we do is go back and add the endings that match our subject. So let's do that. So preferi, preferiste, prefirió, preferimos, preferisteis, prefirieron. So everything is normal. We just have two little letters that change. So this E went to an I and this E went to the I. And those are stem changers. So remember, anytime you see AR or an ER verb that's a stem changer, you do nothing to it. Just leave it normal how it is. Only the IR verb stem change. Now we're getting to our just plain irregular part of the preterite tense. And we have four verbs that gave us a headache in Spanish 1, and they are continuing that pattern in Spanish 2. So in the past tense, dar, bear, ser, and ir are irregular. So our verb dar, it means to give, just in case you forgot what it meant. Okay, what's irregular about dar is it gets no accents. Okay, so these four verbs don't receive any accents. It's an AR verb, that gets the ER and IR ending. So that's what makes it irregular. So the yo form, D, means I gave. To diste means you gave. Dio. Dimos, distes, dieron. So it's an AR verb. It gets the ER, IR endings, and there's no accents. Thank goodness. Then we get to ver. Okay? Ver is irregular because it doesn't get the accents. So notice in the yo form, so be, and the L form, bio, there's no accent whatsoever. And it's very similar to dar, except this time it has a V and dar has a D. So bi, biste, bio, bimos, bistes, vieron. And this means to see. So I saw, you saw, he saw. Okay, now we get to ser. And this one is crazy. There's an F and there's a U, and we don't really know where they came from. They just popped up. And the endings don't even match the whole way around. So this one is just plain irregular. You're just going to have to write it down as many times as you need to until you memorize it. So let's look at the yo form. So fui means I was. Fuiste, you were. Fue. So notice there's no I in fue. Okay, nosotros fuimos, vosotros fuisteis. And then down here for ellos, we have fueron, and we drop the I again. So it doesn't have an I in the bottom too. And it means I was. So ser, you're going to use these for a time, for an origin, for an occupation, or for a description. So these are permanent traits about yourself. Then we get to ir, everyone's favorite verb. It means to go. And look, they're exactly the same. So ir and ser in Spanish are exactly the same. So we have fui, fuiste, fue, fuimos, fuisteis, fueron. How are you going to tell the difference between them though? Because they're exactly the same. How do you know if you're going to say I went versus I was? Well, there's a little hint. Anytime you have ir, you're always going to have an a followed behind it. So anytime you see fui a, you know it means I went to somewhere. If it doesn't have the a, it's probably going to be ser. Well, these are the easier irregulars that we have in the preterite. We still have a lot more to go, but put these to memory and we'll practice whenever I see y'all in class next time.